Hello and welcome back to another episode of Media and More, The Acolyte. We're on episode 5, and the name of this one is Night. Andre and I are going to really dissect this one because I think this is the episode that we've been waiting on. Um, so let me do my little. How you doing?
I'm
Before we
doing
get
good.
started,
I'm really excited about this one.
man, I tell you what. So let me do my radio announcer voice real quick. It's just like the last time we left our intrepid heroes, they were up against a new threat, a red lightsaber wielding villain. Now, what is next? Dun dun dun.
Right?
So, I mean, it ended pretty good. I mean, okay. I don't understand where they're going with the naming of these episodes because last episode's called Day and this one's
Yeah.
called Night. And I'm just like, I hope it's more than the other one they were traveling during the day and now it's become night. I mean,
Yeah.
they're going with they don't have any correlation in my brain.
I don't think there was any thought in there. I just think it was like, this sounds good. This
Yeah.
sounds like a good idea. Or just very lazy episode name planning.
Yeah.
Not really sure.
Or none.
Or yeah, I'll go with the none.
So, okay. So at the very end of the last episode, you get the reveal. We got the awesome behind the person reveal. He comes up, he poof, OSHA goes flying, right? And then the Jedi all like their lightsabers and they come rushing him, and he just poof, and pushes them down
Right.
and dust everywhere. So we open with them in the midst of this battle. And so there were like what, seven Jedi, six,
Something like
seven
that.
Jedi,
Yeah.
and Soul gets thrown somewhere. Okay. It opens with Osha just kind of waking up and like she's like not sure where she is, and you got this red dust. I don't wasn't sure what the red dust relevance was, but she tries to run or something. She falls down and she looks over and she sees the dead body of a Jedi. And I'm just like, okay, this isn't going well.
Right. Your theory from the last episode was correct. There were way too many Jedis with
We just
lightsaber availability there. It's like, yeah, it's time to
the thin the herd.
yeah.
And I tell you what, oh my God, man, they were. This is definitely the lightsaber action that I was waiting for
Oh yeah.
because here's my frustration. It's like you have more Jedi than this one bad guy, and he was eating them alive. I
Yeah.
mean,
They knew not.
what?
They knew not. It's kind of silly because um just to have them brought in, just to get knocked down 5 seconds later, there, of course, I mean, we should have seen it coming because,
Oh,
we
we did
hadn't
though.
seen
We
any of
did.
them. So there was no character development on behalf
Nope.
of any of these people. They're just like, oh, we're along the ride for the ride.
We didn't even get names.
That's true. That is
so,
so true.
so if we don't get your name, you're gonna die.
In fact, I kind of want to check the credits to see, probably Jedi number 1, Jedi
Right.
number 4. You don't even get a name.
Right. Well, you know what? I will say this. They are usually good
Sorry.
about naming, coming up with names after the fact. So you do get like maybe a little bit of a background after the fact, but still, it was so one-sided. And he was coming up with, well, okay. So we still don't know who this guy is because we've got the mask, right? And we learn a lot in this first battle. So he's fighting a couple of the Jedi. I guess Yord gets his leg sliced when he tries to jump in, and Soul says he doesn't even mention OSHA by name. He says civilians to the ship, and she's just like kind of like, but and he pushes her, and so Yord grabs her and they head towards the ship. So so they're off the grid for the moment. I I don't know what happened to him at that moment. Maybe he got knocked off or whatever. But when the bad guy, the boss guy, the evil guy is fighting, he decapitates two guys. He slices one guy like across the stomach. He puts his lightsaber through one guy and then force pulls another guy onto the back, so he killed two at the same time.
Yeah, that was
He's
brutal.
just like he's just taking them out left and right. I'm just like, what kind of Jedi battle training have you guys been doing?
There is a some content online that talks about the way that he fights, and for the record, some people are calling him Darth Teeth because of the
Oh God.
I mean, the helmet design is
Oh,
pretty bad.
yes,
It's
it
pretty
is.
bad. I
Oh
don't know
well.
who thought that one through. We when we get further on, I mean, it's explained as to the material in which the helmet is made from.
Okay,
That's
yeah, I was
one
gonna
thing.
ask about yeah.
But as far as yeah, the design, I actually didn't have a problem with the helmet on just this part. Just this was
Yeah,
my
just
only issue.
the smile or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. But it was also mentioned that his fighting style is there's an actual name for it, and there are a few other, I guess, short films that mention, but it's the art of while fighting, turning your lightsaber on and off in order to
Okay.
get out of a situation and or to inflict damage. So I do find that really interesting. His style was very unique. I
Yes.
never saw it coming. They were not prepared for that style of
No.
combat, primarily because if it was mentioned before in previous episodes, something about not the like some like the rules of engagement when it comes to fighting, we're not
Right.
going
Well,
against that.
see, that was one thing that I wrote down because later in the episode, Yord is talking to May, and he says, um, he doesn't follow the rules of combat,
Right.
and I'm just like, what are you talking about? and
Right.
and so this is where I feel like for all the Jedi's, I don't know, their hubris or whatever, it's like they're stuck in their own delusions. It's
Hmm.
like well, this is we're in a gentleman's era, and I'm going to fight, and you're going to
Yeah.
defend, and it's just like
To
that's
battle.
right. It's just like nobody fights like that.
Yeah.
Guerrilla fighters or whatever, they're just like they're gonna get in. All your regular people aren't going to fight like that. They're going to go in, they're going to try and take the advantage. So I don't know why they're stuck in this delusion that anyone else is going to fight this way.
Right.
So that really bothered me with that. But okay, you were talking about the material for the helmet.
Hmm.
Okay, so in the fight with all the no-name Jedi's, the before the two got killed, the one on the lights and then one that got pulled, the what happened to those, he used his helmet. He hit his head on their lightsabers, and he's got like one gauntlet, and he like blocked a hit with the gauntlet. So up until now, the only material that I was aware of that could block a lightsaber hit
Hmm.
is Beskar.
Okay.
And so I'm going, uh, I, I don't, I don't know where they're going with this. If But I think it's interesting. Now, the thing that frustrated me was I noticed it immediately. He hit their helmets with the lightsaber, and both their lightsabers went out. They fizzled, and then they came back, and then they jumped into the fight. It's just
That
like,
happened quite a bit, and I was going to ask you about that. What is
okay,
the deal? I'm not used to seeing lightsabers do that. This is the first time I've ever seen a saber fizzle out the way that they did, to where it's like a flashlight, when the battery's not doing too
right,
well. It's essentially the same thing. Like what? I've never seen that in any other part of
because
the Star Wars franchise.
it's never happened before. This
Just
is
janky
new.
sabers or
Well, no,
something.
it's there's something with whatever the material that the helmet is made of, which is temporarily shorting out the I don't know, the crystal or whatever in there, because it's not permanent, because once the lightsaber comes back, it's fine. But
Right.
it just stops it temporarily. So my mindset is like, aha, don't let him hit your lightsaber with his gauntlet or his, adapt on the fly. And they
Right.
didn't.
Yeah. Perhaps it's an issue of lack of not necessarily training, but they haven't been out in the galaxy enough and have not experienced enough combat in order to know how to adapt. Perhaps we could even bring it down to the way that the Jedi are training at this current time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, okay. Yes and no.
Okay.
I think, and Yord is like the post. He is still the poster child for the Jedi guy trying to do follow things by the letter of the law.
Yeah.
Because he runs away because Soul told him to. Well,
Hmm.
That's what I was told to do, so I'm going to do it. And and that's fine to a certain degree, but if he is the poster child and everyone else kind of is in that realm, none of them are prepared for what he has to offer. The bad guy, because if they don't walk this particular path, all you got to do is, like you said, that style is jumping in and out, turning your lightsaber on. Who does that? Nobody does that.
Right.
Everything is textbook and cookie cutter. They're not prepared. They.
If
But
he is the poster child, which we'll get there, I think he should have held his own a little bit better than what we got.
I would agree. I would agree. I mean, he did for a little, because what did he do? He jumped in and stopped somebody from getting hit. I mean, there was something where he jumped in there, right, where I didn't expect him to. I'm just like, okay, we're going to see
Right.
some Yord action. But then that's when he got cut on the leg and he had to take
To
Osha
flee
out
with
of there.
OSHA, yeah. And so
So
they head to
back
the
heading back to
forest
the ship.
area.
Yeah, right. So I mean, okay. So, but all the while, you've got May inside the Kelnaka's
Little hut
hovel,
area.
right? And she's out there watching all this. Well, she was already going to turn herself in. And you do get that level of fear, that whatever he had done, he had given her a certain level of fear. She fears him, right?
Yeah.
But if she was going to turn herself in, why didn't she come outside and help the Jedi? Or at least warn them and saying, hey, XYZ, anything. What did she do? She runs.
Right.
And even with her sister being there, if the whole point was her to try and do whatever to save her sister, she should at least have done that. And
Exactly.
she spent the majority of this episode running away. And that really frustrated. It to me is counter to the whole point of her turning herself in to
Hmm.
be with her sister. So
Yeah, and it's okay to be conflicted, but yeah, it's like she made a decision and then immediately went back on it for self-preservation.
yes, yes. But well, I mean, and then so it's like the two sisters share like one emotion.
Mhm.
It's like, so as she was running away and trying to get away, Osha was on the other side. She's just like, we can't leave them. He's going to kill them. We need to go help them. So I mean, and even when they were having that conversation, let me see after. Okay, yeah. So she didn't help him. Oh, um, after the majority of the other Jedi are down, then Soul comes, and Soul and the bad guy, whatever. That was a really good lightsaber fight, because
Oh
you
yeah.
really get that Soul. Soul is a powerful Jedi. He knows what he's doing, but he's still intrigued. He's trying to figure out who is this guy? What what's he about? Why is he here? What's your story? Because he asks him, he knows that he's been training May, and he asks what kind of a master uh, from his hides his face from his pupil, and his response was, uh, "I've what did he said? He said you tell me," and you're like, "Well, what does that mean?"
I know that was really
And
odd
I'm just like,
wording.
okay, and he also makes the comment just like, you don't remember me, and he's like, well, I felt something. So now I'm thinking, well, is this one of um Soul's old Padawans or something like that? Because they're making it kind of feel like there's like some kind of connections there, like he should know him, and
Mhm.
maybe he's forgotten. But when he makes the comment about, hiding your face from your Padawan, he says something about, I've accepted my darkness. What have you done with yours?
That was a
And
good line.
so that was a very good line. So I mean, this
I
thing
will.
was just chock full of good little
Yeah,
bits here and there.
watching Soul fight reminded me of old martial arts films.
Mm,
He had very his style was a little more fluid in adapting to the enemy coming at him, and it was kind of disappointing to see. Well, I guess we didn't get to see Carrie Ann Moss's character go up against him, but I think that we would at least gotten a little bit something similar.
okay.
I don't know what that actor's. I'd have to look into his broader career of films that he's done.
Which one? The
Soul, because
Soul. Okay.
I know he was in Squid Games, and that's a great show, but it's not a fighting
Oh, see, I
show.
wondered about that. I didn't know if
Um,
if any of that transferred over from one to the other. Because
no,
because I've
no.
not seen Squid Game.
Yeah, it's a great show, but yeah, they're polar opposites.
Okay.
So I wasn't aware that he was going to show out when it came to battling. So I was highly impressed with Soul's fighting prowess. And
Okay.
as far as the fight choreography goes, that is probably why I would say that this episode is the highlight of the season because
Oh,
it's the first
absolutely.
time we got to see some kind of action. Like there were things that have taken place throughout the show, but this was the first time where it was just straight sabers back and forth.
Right.
I do kind of find it a little funny that the whole lineup of lightsabers were a bit rainbow-esque, a little too rainbow-esque. It had me wanting to look back at the episode 2 scene on Camino. Camino?
In the arena,
Yes.
the arena scene. That was not Camino. That was Geonosis.
Geonosis, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, just that main battle scene, it kind of had me wanting to look at that and say, okay, what colors do I see here? You know, I don't
It,
know if yellow was so that prevalent.
okay.
I'm not sure.
If I remember back, because I can remember watching the trailer for that. That is definitely one of the things that kind of stood out to me. That there were, because what we were used to, obviously red, we were always used to blue, and then we were
Hmm.
used to green because those are
Yeah.
the only three we had. So yellow did stand out, yellow, orange in that realm. It did stand out pretty well. And I know there were some in that arena scene. Um, I'm not sure if I would put the rainbow colorness in this particular episode for that reason. I wouldn't put it
Right.
past them. It did not come
I mean,
across to me that way,
I don't
other
have
than the
anything against
fact.
rainbows. Let's just put
Right.
that out
Well,
there.
right, me too. But I think the fact that based on where they were, it would have been boring to see, you know, seven blue lightsabers.
That's
Although,
fair. I will
I
give you
mean,
that
you
one.
definitely from a directorial point of view, you needed the color contrast,
Yeah.
and you could kind of track the Jedi for that. So while that battle was going on, you had Jackie. Oh no, you had yeah. As the battle went away from where Kilnaka's hovel was, you've got May inside. She grabs Kilnaka's lightsaber and she gets ready to go out, and then Jackie shows up and is going
Yeah.
to take her into custody. And that was a really good hand-to-hand fight that they had. I was kind of surprised. So they had a good hand-to-hand combat like inside the little hovel. Jackie at one point force pushes May one direction, and then she's trying to put the handcuffs on her, and that she's like, I'm placing you under arrest for the death of Master Indara, Carrie Ann Moss, Master Indara, Master Torben, and Master Kelnaka. Now, at that point, why would you not say, I did not kill him? You know, and I think she was even saying, you even took his lightsaber, and she hooks his lightsaber on
Yeah.
it. And the one thing I don't like about a lot of these lightsabers that I'm seeing, they look way too big and chunky on the hand. It doesn't look like you can. They just look way too big.
Okay.
But okay, except for the fact that that was a Wookiee's lightsaber and it would have to be bigger, but it just did feel a little bit chunky.
I think we have reached the point where, I mean, I guess they don't care about scale in some instances. They're just trying to output content. And that is a shame to see because I didn't notice that. I mean, we could probably try and argue, well, it was a Wookiee's lightsaber, so maybe it's a little bigger than usual. But I mean, if you're noticing that overall, then yeah, I would say that that is a problem. On behalf of, I'm just gonna just call him Darth Teeth for the moment. But um, when
We can do
he
that.
was presented fighting, at least when we get to the next part, because I have to get this part out of the way. Um, because I initially thought it was one of the moms.
So did I.
Um,
Yep.
and
We agree with
so
that.
when the fighting all started going down, and I think the sleeves got torn off at one point. I don't
Hmm.
know if that took place prior to the multi saber fight or afterward. But I'm
Afterward,
looking at
definitely
this
afterward.
character, and I'm like, okay, I thought that this particular individual had woman arms. His arms were kind of, lean, a little too
Mhm.
lean.
Okay.
Um, and then the stature as well, like they were standing in a certain way. I'm like,
I
that's not,
I think
that it's very
they were leading
effeminate.
us. I
They
think they were
were.
leading us
They're like, stand
because
like this.
right. Well,
They're gonna fool
oh, I
everybody.
completely agree. Well, and also you could see the arm, and you could go either way. Maybe that's a very muscular woman's arm. Um,
Right.
it's not like their fingernail polish. We go
Right.
so,
But
but
it had me
the
thinking it was mom number two for a
right,
minute there.
exact. Well, the tunic, the way the tunic was falling, you couldn't see any breasts or anything. So
Mm-mm.
I will agree. At that point, I'm going. This could still be one of the moms.
Right.
Well,
Well,
mom
the
too,
the
mom
mom
too.
too.
The
Yeah.
Zabrak. Yep. So
Uh, so I just thought that was kind of funny. Like they really had me fooled to that degree, to where I literally, there were a few wide shots. It became very clear to me that it was a man, but just on initial, the lighting and all the movement. At first I was like, yeah, it could be definitely be mom number two for sure.
right.
Um, Jackie, I do feel like she was well within her right. It's disappointing that they didn't have enough time to get clarity on the death of the Wookiee Jedi.
Hmm.
That was really disappointing. I actually kind of had to roll my eyes about that because it's like, oh, I've seen this before, where you store them in, you're like, you did it,
Right. Right.
without asking any questions. I get tensions were high, but yeah, I did find that part to be a bit annoying, but necessary to move the plot along, you know, and within the next few minutes. Um, but yeah, I just didn't really like that. She I she does have a clear head on her shoulders, and it just felt more like a Yord moment to just
Right.
jump in and assume. I mean, she could have just said you're under arrest, but
Right.
throwing
Well,
those
yeah.
extra, we don't have to name names. We know who, we'd have dead Jedi on our hands. That's what like.
Right.
But yeah, that's all I had to say about that particular part.
Well, okay. So, okay. So this kind of leads us to after she has her handcuffs, they're outside, and Jackie was just like, you could see she sensed something in the force, and then he comes out of nowhere,
Right.
and he says to May, um, see, she's a good pupil, very loyal, and just kind of goading,
Yeah.
So, and I don't understand why. He's definitely taking her betrayal very personally.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, I feel like he's known a lot more of the truth this whole time. So he's been lying to her this whole time. So
Yeah.
yet now at the end, he wants to get in his feelings when she actually decides to do something different. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but there's just so much going on here. Um,
Now, was this before or the saber throw went down? This conversation that they had, or it might have.
yes, I think that was before the saber throw because she, I know at some because I think she lit her lightsaber and she was fighting Darth Keith, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, she was holding her own with him.
She
She was
was
killing it.
great. Oh my God.
I mean,
I
she, Yord should have been her Padawan.
that is so true. That is so true. I I mean, we liked Jackie from the get-go,
Oh yeah,
but my
she
goodness,
delivered.
that
She delivered.
solidified everything. She was she's the type of Padawan you want, well
Yeah,
trained, you know, not quick to jump to conclusions outside of that the last thing we said, but
right, right, right.
just calm in thought and your words, like that's what you really want. And I was just so impressed with her character. They did
Okay.
such a great job.
Yes, they did. And what really, really got me was, she's fighting him. Boom, boom, boom. He hits the lightsaber with the helmet and shorts it out. And so she's just like, "That's okay. I have another one."
Oh yeah, Ahsoka moment right there.
And then the other, and that look where the one's lit and the other one, and then it sparks to life, and she's just like, "Oh yeah."
Hmm.
And then back in it, I'm just like,
Yes.
oh my God, she was just all over this dude. And
Yeah.
then I think and I think at that point is when May got up and ran again.
Yeah.
Oh. So I don't know, I can't remember what happened where she was out of the fight, but that's where May was running through the wood. Something happened in he he just disappeared. She like turned around and he was gone.
Oh yeah, right,
Right. And
right.
so
There was
she's
like a
just like,
calm moment
right.
for a second there.
And then gone. I'm like, okay. And so you see May running through and he's behind her and he just throws the lightsaber and and you see it was going straight for her.
And then
And
Soul comes in and blocks it.
was that Soul?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Soul comes in and blocks it, and you can see the trees, and it goes back, and it's hitting the trees on the way back, and the
Yeah.
trees are glowing, and then all of a sudden, they fall over.
Personally, I felt kind of meh about that. I have seen the saber throw quite a few times in games. And
Hmm.
so I don't know. I mean, it was just kind of like a thing that happened. It looked cool. I think the block that Soul pulled off was a lot more interesting than the saber throw itself. And people were saying that Leslie Headland, the producer of the
Hmm.
show, I guess she really liked, I think, Knights of the Old Republic, or she was really
Okay.
into like something like one of those particular games. And so that's where she had seen that particular move. And I don't know. I mean, it's a cool move. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I'm just a little burnt out on it. And I think it's also one of the common moves on a lot. This might be for anyone who's played any of the old Star Wars games, but it's one of the moves you can do in Jedi power battles.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so
I
yeah,
think you
after
can
you've
do
done it
it.
about a billion times.
What's the one with the Jedi? Uh, oh, the last video, one of the last video games they did with the apprentice. That
I'd have to ask you because I didn't.
yeah. Well, God,
I haven't
I
played
own
any of
it.
the recent ones. Yeah, I was about to say I find that one really interesting, but yeah, I haven't
Well,
seen enough of
I'll
that game
drop that
yet.
in, but that's one of the ones I think he can do in that one. I think you can do it. It's so versatile. You can have one, you can have two, you can have a double. It is what it is. But okay, I really like the fact, and maybe this is why the fight was so one-sided earlier. It was building up how good Darth Teeth actually is, or how much power he has. Okay.
Right.
Um, and then because I kind of thought, well, if May has Kelnaka's lightsaber, why didn't she try and use it against Jackie? Because they were hand to hand, and at one point she threw one of her little blades at her. So there wasn't that, but it led into a really good lightsaber fight with Jackie and Darth Teeth, right? And then that just Soul and Darth Teeth fight was just really, 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 really intense. Now, um, so was and he still had his helmet on at this point, right? And they were fighting back and forth. Oh, well, okay. So Osha and Yord were like at the edge of the forest, about to go where the big bugs were, and they're just like, turn off your lightsaber, or they're attracted to the light, and you could see where the creatures were on the trees, and they weren't, and they're up in the.
And he
And
took
so
too long to turn that saber off.
I know.
Huh?
I'm.
What? They're where?
We already know he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Okay.
Right. But my goodness.
But
Oh,
she convinces him, we need to go back. He's going to kill them all. So, she pulls Pip, her robot flashlight fire extinguisher, and it's just like, follow me. And they go running back, right? Yeah. So as they're running back, just about the time that they get to the clearing, Yord shows up. Where was it? Yord showed up, and he pulled a pretty good move. He hit the helmet and knocked the helmet off or something, and the helmet comes off of his head, and so we get to see it's the assistant guy. What's his name? Cole, whatever his name is.
my jaw dropped so hard. I did not see that coming. His character prior, like his behavior prior, just I would have never expected that. I'm like, that
I just,
guy, like
I
what? And then he comes off, like just looking all ripped and awesome. It's like, okay, so they actually Disney got me on that one. They got
see
me on that one. I was
they
genuinely surprised.
they kind of didn't get me, because, as a matter of fact, I was talking to one of my buddies, Augie with Interstellar Modeler, and we were having this conversation, and I had typed in there, uh, either that guy is like really dumb, either he knows more than he's saying,
At
or
least
he's
that,
the big
yeah.
bad guy.
Right.
I just remember saying, so I had before I'd seen it, I had that thought, and I was a little bit disappointed, just a little bit, because it was kind of obvious. I felt like it would have been better if it one of the sisters, but we got what we got, right?
Right.
Um, but obviously it shocked Yord as well. He's just like,
Mm,
you, and
mm.
then boom, 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 snap, Yord's dead.
Yeah, I was actually a little disappointed about that.
So was I.
We've been
I
cracking jokes on
know.
yours since episode 1, but man,
I didn't want him to go out like that.
right. First we lose Jackie, and
No,
then
we
yours. Oh, we haven't, or have we?
we haven't
Well,
lost Jackie yet.
you can cut it. You can cut it. Just do a
No,
cut.
no, no. It's fine because well, okay. So, but see, that was the thing that polarized both um Soul and Jackie because they watched your die,
Oh yeah, that's true.
and so they were really pissed. Okay, and so I'm telling you, so when Jackie and Soul were fighting Darth Teeth, they had him up on the ropes. And if at that point had May jumped in to try and help them, they probably could have defeated him. If they had one more person, they probably one more good. Even if they had had Yord at that point, between those three, they probably could have taken him out.
We don't know if May has decent saber training though. All
No,
we've
we don't.
seen her fight with is little knives and hand to hand, which mind you, she's really good at,
Yeah,
and jumping and flipping around. But I
but
mean,
we can say the same thing about Osha. Osha
yeah,
was a Jedi. She had Jedi lightsaber training, and she didn't retain. She hasn't even touched a lightsaber.
no, no.
And I'm just really kind of disappointed. I'm just like, oh, what are you doing here? Why are you not jumping in here at all?
Which,
So
speaking of, I don't understand how the force works to that degree, but it, it's still in you all the
yeah,
time. So, I mean, okay, when she first reached for Pip in episode one,
the very first one. Yep.
episode one, okay, we can kind of give it that. I haven't been using my I mean, I just don't understand. Like, there isn't even I mean, like, they were born of the force.
Yeah.
So
True. True. Well, okay.
does it just leave you because you just abandon it? Or, I'm
So
not really
part,
sure how that works.
they've been all over the place with that. I've heard that. I think even in this one, they were talking about if you catch a child at their very young age and they have the force and the Jedi take them and train them, they hone that skill. But if they don't, then it will go as an unused skill and it will slowly just kind of fade away and it
Okay.
kind of needs to be coached.
It's
It
like
would have to,
muscle memory.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
that's but that's just one interpretation. Um, th- I personally kind of believe that if you've got it, you should have it. And it's always going to be like a part of you. It's just
Right.
kind of like being right or left-handed. It's just you just kind of learn to deal with it or have that intuition or whatever. I mean, and I'm sorry, if you have the force and you can move stuff with your mind, who's not going to develop that?
Exactly. Yeah, even if you're just a civilian just screwing around, like,
And
yeah,
you're not
you're
going to
probably,
tell anybody.
right, right.
So,
That is a very fair point. I totally agree with that.
so, so unfortunately, we get to the point where there you've got um, Jackie and Soul fighting. I think Jackie gets a little bit overconfident because okay. So what has for some reason one of Darth Teeth's lightsabers was out. What happened? Something. Well, okay. She's fighting and she's fighting him, and something happens where he separates his lightsaber and he ends up with like a very short one, like a like dagger, and all
Yeah.
you see from her back, and he bam 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 1 2 3 takes Jackie out
Mm.
and right in front of Soul, and it's just like I mean it just guts him,
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, Darth Teeth says, he's like, Jackie, and he's like, was that its name?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just like wow, and he's just like, well, she was just a child, and you killed her. And he comes back with, you brought her here. This is your fault, not mine, and that just sets Soul off. And he goes after him with a vengeance, and to the point where he's angry, he gets him down, he comes like to right there with decapitating him, and OSHA stops him. Well, actually, he tried to attack him. He's like, "You attack me from behind? That's not very Jedi like." I'm just like, well, you're not fighting like a Jedi. I mean, I know I have rules and everything, but the whole goal is to either take you in or take you out.
Right.
And obviously, you've been taking out all these other people. I think they'll forgive me for bringing back a decapitated body.
Right.
But OSHA stopped him, and
This isn't who you are. You're
uh,
better than this kind of
yeah,
scenario. We've seen
there,
it too many times. Like he killed the whole team.
yeah.
So
Well, there was an episode of Firefly where Mal was he was beat up or whatever, and somebody says to him, it's at the very end, and they're about to be rescued or whatever, and the somebody says to him, you're a good man. He goes, well, okay, I'm a good man, and he like punches a guy in the face or something. He goes, well, maybe not so good. Bam, he punches. He goes, I'm all right.
yeah.
So I'm sorry. I'm just like, I can live with not being a great Jedi.
Right.
Problem solved. But where will we be in the story? So, um, but in the meantime, I think May runs again. Oh, she starts to run away, and uh, OSHA comes back with the flashlight, and she puts the flashlight on Darth Teeth's back, and the creatures come and kind of carry him
Carry him
off.
away. Yeah.
And I'm like, you think, well, that's the end of him, and oh, well, because and so after she was gone, May stuns Soul, so he's out of the picture. So it's just the two sisters, and they finally have a conversation, and May is just like, hey, sister, I love you. Let's
Let's just
run
run
off together.
away.
Let's just be done with it. And boy, Osha's not having it. I mean, you could see there's a little bit of that emotion there, and she's just like, yeah. I mean, I have my sister back, but then at the same time, she's just like, you have to pay for your crimes. She tries to put her in an arm lock or whatever, and they're kind of evenly mashed back. They do that for a couple of seconds, but then uh May like force pushes
Right.
OSHA like off the edge and knocks her out, pushes her off the edge and knocks.
Which,
And
speaking of, OSHA gets knocked out a lot. Like that's her main thing.
well, I mean, just like
Just give
I'm
her a
like,
helmet or something. I don't know.
well,
And actually, I thought that fall was going to kill her.
yeah, I
That
mean,
would have been really. I'm glad that it didn't. That would be the point of the remaining episodes. But I just, I'm glad that it didn't. But man, yeah, it
well,
was a convenient fall.
yes, it was, but at the same time, where does that put us? This puts us at the good old fashioned twin swap.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
what?
didn't even know what was going on at the
Yeah.
time until I thought about it.
Well, okay. When she cut her hair, you didn't.
It took me a
Yeah.
couple more seconds to register, and then I was like, okay, we're doing this. I'm like, he's gonna some they're gonna figure you out. You can't play the role of your sister forever. There are
I
things.
know, but
There are so
just
many things.
just the way she walks and carries herself is completely different.
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing. So they swap clothes, or she swaps clothes with her, and she goes back to Seoul. And he's like, "Where's your sister?" And she's just like, um, "She's gone."
Yeah.
Well, we need to get back to the ship. I'm like, okay, this is where my problem with the Force is. You can't tell that she feels differently in the Force
Yes.
than Osha did.
Right. Right.
Uh,
I totally agree with that. I was
I'm
thinking that
like, come
same
on.
thing. Um, and the only excuse I came up with is that he was so caught up with all these emotions going on that it wasn't a thought at that particular time. If he had been a lot calmer, I feel like he probably would have taken a moment and, you know, looked into, or at least said something like,
Yeah, I
this is
mean,
off. Something's not right
it's
here.
something. I mean, because there's just her. It seems like her aura for determination or whatever in the Force. It would show a different color. It would just
Right.
feel different.
Yes.
Somebody was laughing that I find it amazing that she just flipped her head forward, took her lightsaber, and cut off her hair, and she looked exactly like her sister.
Yeah.
Just like it was just like there was no stragglers.
Yeah, I didn't notice. I hadn't noticed how common that particular hairstyle was until
I,
I was at work looking around, and uh, the male to female demographic is like
mhm.
higher on the female side of my job, and there are just a lot of young ladies with there. Right? Like I'm
That,
walking around, like Osha. Oh,
you're
sorry,
right, right.
Osha. Oh, sorry, I thought you were somebody else.
And so I mean, no, I didn't know what that was, and I had not known what it that was before, but I don't think it's an effect of this show because those kinds of things do happen. It's
Yeah,
just like you're right. It's a lot of that out there. It just happened to be in the show, and now we're seeing it all the time. So,
yeah.
uh, um, but there is one thing that I did forget about. Also, I guess I'll go on ahead and bring it up now. They the one big difference between the two sisters is May has the swirl and Osha does not. The swirl over because they did a very good job of keeping her bangs down the whole episode so you would forget about that. I
Mm.
actually didn't see that until the next episode. I'm just like, oh, that would have been completely obvious, just like, yeah, I'm OSHA. No, you're not.
Right. I didn't think about that. I
Yeah.
totally forgot about
So
the
they
symbol.
they did a good job of keeping that covered up. We were supposed to. So I actually didn't catch it to the next episode. But again, if you're gonna do the twin swap, I don't know, wear a hat. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
So
Oh, yeah, I never thought about that. That's
that's
that's a
one of
good.
those afterthought things that you so okay, before before uh while Soul was talking to Darth Teeth or whatever, and the helmet's off, and he asks
Mhm.
them, "What are you?" He goes, "Oh, I don't have a name, but you guys could call me Sith." And I'm just like, again, I mean, I'm just like, the reason that I liked the whole Witches of Dathomir thing
Mhm.
is because it was something different. It was they were touching the Force in a different way, and uh, do we know it's the same or not? We don't know, but at least it's kind of walking down a different path.
Right.
But you're still going to have your good and evil, right and wrong, or whatever. But this, you know, it's like watching. It's like watching Batman, and the only villain they ever give you is the Joker. Despite the fact that the Joker is a great villain, you
Mhm.
don't want to see him every week.
It would have been very interesting to see them use that mind control technique that they have on a force sensitive individual to do their bidding through him. That would have been
Well,
cool.
okay. No, she did mention that because before when Yord was talking to Osha, he says he gets in your head and he just stays there. And Osha's response was, um, "My mother could do that." So this is before. I guess this is before we have the helmet reveal because at that point we're still looking like, oh, it could still be one of the mothers, the one of the witches, because they kind of seeded you with, oh yeah, my mother could do that. I've seen her do it. So they were definitely steering us in that direction. But it's just when he said I'm a Sith, I'm just like I don't know why it was necessary to do that. And maybe we'll get the answers in a upcoming episode or whatever. But I was just a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I was glad that it was revealed to be who we didn't think it was. I love a
Okay.
good twist. Um, the old rug pull is always great. Um, but yeah, I agree with you. I would have liked to see more from the witch's perspective and them having played a bigger role on the back end of all of this would have been really interesting. It just kind of seemed like, okay, this is how it started, and so it's just whatever on the back end. Like, it
Well,
wasn't even. I mean, like, I don't recall the Sith being mentioned prior per se. Maybe hinted at a little bit, but it would have been nice, to not see them as the forefront of this.
right,
Maybe
right,
another show, but I mean, I do like the concept of, we haven't had to deal with the Sith in so long, and then so like to have some
right.
kind of outlier just pop up out of nowhere. Okay, a nice little curveball, but it shouldn't be the forefront of
Well,
the show.
I guess so. His motivation was he's just like, I want to be able to be in the open and wield my power as I wish, and I want an acolyte. I want an apprentice. I want to teach
Right.
somebody. And I'm just like, I just don't. I don't know. I kind of don't get that motivation. Just like, oh, I need to teach someone to chair my. I mean, if you find someone, great, but what exactly are you not getting to do? Are you wanting to go and rule a planet, or I mean, I just don't understand where he's going with this. Having to have some kind of someone to teach it. I don't. I need more. You
Yeah,
know.
and we don't know who taught him,
Right. Right.
and I mean, this longing for an apprentice. I don't really works when it comes to that. I don't know if they just find somebody and they're like, you're my apprentice now, or whatever. And because unfortunately we don't know if May just came to him or it.
Well, okay. So, and that's the other part. We still don't know exactly what happened the night of the fire because I still have a hard time because that's one thing. Just like you started the fire to kill our family, and I'm just like that little bitty lantern. Come on, I just there's got to be something. There's got to be something more to that. And then Soul
Mm,
does say something about let's just get back to the ship, and maybe it was a previous episode with let's get to the ship and I'll explain everything to you.
right.
So we're still kind of stuck with that mystery of what happened on uh the night that the witches died. I still kind of think there's a fake in there. They've spirited themselves off somewhere, but we don't know. We
Yeah,
just don't know.
I look forward to revisiting And we'll get to do that in the next episode because you know
Yeah.
things get revisited in that, and there's some things I get to touch on behalf of that. But um, I was at the store the other day, and there just so happened to be some firemen in there doing some shopping, and I'm like, I want to ask you about fires, and I just want to ask you about this one
Well,
thing. Like, have you guys seen the Acolyte? has,
right, right.
has
I was
anybody asked
watching
you
the
any
show.
question on behalf of the show? I mean, like, you guys are the expert, but I didn't want to interrupt their shopping. Like, we even caught eyes and like smiled. I'm like, now's my moment. No, don't do it. Okay, I'll just
No,
I'll
no,
just
no.
continue shopping.
I guarantee you, somewhere out there is there, and you might want to Google it. Star Wars loving firemen.
Yeah,
I
I'm
have
sure.
questions. Put it out there. I have
Right.
questions.
That's something for Reddit for sure. And you know, have we gotten to the end of the episode? Was that the
Yes,
end?
yeah, that's the
Just
end of the.
about.
Well,
Yeah, they
okay,
get back to the
okay.
ship. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they get back to the ship, and then you see Darth Teeth pick up his helmet. He picks up his cloak. He goes and finds
OSHA.
OSHA, and he says something. Oh, and he puts the. So the way we find out that there was a twin swap, if we didn't already know, he kind
Right.
of rolls her over. She has a wound on the side, and at the very first episode, she had that tattoo that they
Hmm.
mentioned, and you go, "Oh my God, it's OSHA."
Right.
And he puts the blanket over here like he's going to take care of her. So now he has his apprentice, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, insane.
Right. Yeah, I didn't really like that how that ended. But I guess I didn't really have any expectations on behalf of how the show was going to play out after all the Jedi died, and
Yeah,
it's pretty much anyone's game at that point. I did not see the twin swap coming, but I did find it kind of annoying once I did realize that what was going on. Like, okay,
yeah.
we're doing this. Like, okay, see how long this
It's
lasts.
it's an old Hollywood. I mean,
Yeah,
I,
yeah. It's what's that movie, The Parent Trap?
the Parent Trap. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the first thing I
the
thought of.
Jedi
It's like
Trap. Or no, that doesn't sound very
the
good.
the Jedi Parent Trap. I
Yeah,
don't.
the pat. Yeah, no. Yeah, I got nothing. I'll
Okay,
get I'll
well,
get some
hey,
time on that one.
so we encourage our viewers to come up with a good title for that.
Yeah, please, please do. Please do.
So any other final thoughts before we close this one out?
Let's see. Well, this is something for the modern people. Jackie bossed too close to the sun. That's that. Like
Oh,
she probably could have dialed it back a bit and
yes,
probably
she
wouldn't
did.
have died. Yeah, she
Yes,
was a
she
little
did.
too formidable of an opponent, and I mean, I guess they didn't feel like they were dealing with that kind of bad guy, who was going to take it there. And I just think it is kind of interesting how you know it just seemed like when there was a moment to prep for a saber duel, or at least so the Jedi thought, like, oh, you have a lightsaber, oh, I have one too. Well, I guess it's time to duel now. It's like, no, not this guy. He's coming to do some damage, and
Yeah,
they had no
they
idea
they
what
were
they were
not
stepping
prepared.
into.
Nope,
And
not at all.
so I was impressed with his fighting prowess. And like I said earlier, that was by far the best episode of the season in terms of
Yep.
combat. We probably won't see anything nearly as good. And I have some wild theories to come in the next few episodes as we talk about them.
The only thing I would disagree with that on is the fact that they keep showing us Vernestra, Master Vernestra Rowe,
Hmm.
and in her youth, she was a formidable uh, lightsaber, a lightsaberist, and there's something that happens in one of the future episodes that I knew about from the stories that they used. Um,
I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, okay.
Oh
So
man.
which is kind of cool, but at the same time, I feel like she needs to come out of the woodworks, but they really haven't developed her character enough, and it's really
And they
not
never will.
about her.
We probably won't see her on camera after this show.
I
if I
gotta
had to
think,
guess.
right, I gotta feel like there's got to be, well, okay, I was gonna say there's got to be another big battle in there for Soul and the bad guy, but I think the story has switched to where our next battle is at some point there's going to have to be some kind of a serious formidable battle between May and Osha. There,
Mm-hmm.
it's like either they're going to have to fight against each other and then they're going to have to fight together. A matter of fact, that's how I'm putting it out there. That's how the bad guy dies. He's going to try and face them against each other. They're going to realize that we're stronger together. Born is one, or the born is two, blah, blah, whatever their little saying was.
Yeah.
And they're going to turn on him. And
I mm. See, I have a theory, but I think it would take. I don't know if getting through the next episode would be worthy of waiting to talk about it. I think that they are going to literally join together as one.
you know what? I had kind of that same thought. And be well, okay. We're just going to
The
leave it
next one, I know, I know. There's
right
just so
there.
much because the next episode is what kind of like provokes a lot of that.
Okay.
But that is my theory. That's my
Okay.
theory. They will probably fight together, but it's gonna take, you know, it's gonna take them combining like some kind of
Right.
Dragon Ball Z fusion and
Oh God.
because I
Well,
mean,
don't put that out there.
yeah. But man, but there are a few things in the next episode that kind of solidify that thought
Okay.
process. So I'm
Okay.
excited.
Okay. Well, I guess we're gonna call it here.
Yeah.
So we're excited to hear what you have to say about this episode. So please send us some questions and comments, and we will get them right back out there to you. But for media and more, this has been the Mediocre Modeler and my son Andre, and we'll see you next time.
Pew 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 pew.